To the point that Darwin was making earlier, right?
Yeah.
So I've been able to observe some like family lives of like well, kindergartners. They're not quite toddlers, like 5, 6, 7. The difference in the kids who have fathers is literally night and day. You can almost see the trajectory of a kindergartner that is not going to go well for them. They can't control themselves. They hit. They don't know how to be structured and sit still. They lash out. This is girls and boys. They pick at the other kids. They do all of these things. I think the most underrated thing, like just men in general, right? Because yeah, you could want to have, yeah, you could want to have luxury items and necessities, but for anybody that has a child, you got to put your child before all of those things. Because like you can't sentence your child to a death sentence or jail or failure just because you wanted to stunt, just because you wanted to look good on IG, just because you wanted a new bag. I think that's probably one of the most selfish things a woman can do, or any parent can do. When you have kids, your life is not about you anymore. And masculinity doesn't it might not be attractive to some people the way it necessarily needs to be for them to be head over heels in love. But the lack of that masculinity in the household, it's got long-term consequences. And I don't know if the women who are walking away from those scenarios are saying, I don't need a man, I can raise a child by myself, really understand how detrimental to the kids it is.
I wanted to add something to Sports Bay. A lot of times, and I'm not saying that this is the situation, but a lot of times if a man just don't like you like that, you're going to think he's sassy. Because I'll give you an example. One time this girl liked me, right? And she lived a couple states away. And she said, "Hey, I want to drive out there and see you." And I didn't really like her that much. She like kind of pursued me, and I was like, "All right, cool, you can come out here, I'll see if I do like you in person, see if it's different." And when it came time for that, she asked, "Could we meet halfway?" I was like, "No, like I'm not driving a state over. I don't like you like that. Like you got to come all the way to me if you like me and show me why I should like you." And I can see her telling her friends like, "Oh, he was sassy. He was trying to get me to come out there and see him and all this other, like type of stuff." But I didn't like her like that. So, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of situations where men just don't like women like that, and they being called sassy. But it was another thing I wanted to say. In terms of like you said, I'm assuming you was talking about like a relationship of a friend that you have, and kind of you witnessing. Is that something that you see, or is it something that kind of like over the years you talking to her and confiding in you, you kind of you pick up on, or is it something that you physically see?
Yeah, we all went to school. We grew up together. So I knew friends with the both of them.
Hmm.
So I knew him, I knew her. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
you're saying that he changed over time.
Oh, yeah.
So the change that we're talking about, you witnessed the change, or is that something just from conversations you'll talk about, or?
Seen it and witnessed it and
Mhm.
also conversations with her.
Okay. So I was
Well,
just gonna say, gotta always be careful. And I always try to keep like my lady grounded when she's telling me about things that she heard from her friend or whatever. And I'm just like, hey, that's her experience. That's how she's experiencing that situation. Doesn't
mhm,
mean it's true, but she's experiencing that situation like that. So don't think that he's like this because she's telling you that. Just
right.
always listen and do what you got to do, but always keep in the back of your head that people experience the same thing differently, the same situation that we
That's
haven't. I might think you said something and you didn't say it, but it felt like you said it, in an argument. So that's
right.
all.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely not one to tell my friends to leave their man or whatever the case. That's not my business. But I'm also not a woman that will. First of all, I'm going to ask my friend because as girlfriends, we know each other. We know each
Mhm.
other's attitudes. We know how we move in relationships, and we keep it a buck with each other. Empress B and I and my other girlfriends, we're like, all right, now, girl, like, were you tripping on him? Like, go
Mhm.
apologize to that man. You were bugging out,
Mhm.
or what is your problem? Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Like, communicate with him, apologize with him. But that's just how we are. But that's just how my parents are. That's how my mother is with me. She was like, "You don't put your hands on a man, he doesn't put his hands on you. Fix your attitude, you communicate, you talk to him, you never demean him. He's a man.
Mhm.
Be respectful just like he should be respectful of you."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, my mother always said, "Let me tell you something. Never ever try to break up a marriage or a relationship with your friend because at the end of the day, they're going to lay their head down at night and they're going to talk about you." So you stay out of it and I stay out of it. So I agree what you said. Real dope daddy.
Yeah.
You probably the only person, y'all the only ones that can say the man name. We can't say that shit. It's
you
a
know,
No, that's a definite pause.
yeah, the information that's being shared with you, you have to be careful with that. Absolutely.
So so my question is, because this is what I was really trying to get to the bottom of, and this is just not only for us but for the audience as well, because when people talk about somebody changing over time, I kind of like to get specific on what that change may look like. So one, people can actually see what to look out for if that's actually a detriment, but then also somebody may be going through that and it may not be as bad as we think it is. So sports, I know, and I know this is your friend, but we don't know your friend. None of us know her. Can you tell me exactly what you mean by he changed? Like an example of like changing.
Switched. I mean, I'm not gonna say too much, but he switched careers. Like I said, wandering eye. I mean, they're no longer together. They've been separated for quite some time now. Well, divorced. But he changed. Like I said, we grew up together, so I've known them since we were teenagers.
So he switched careers. Did he switch careers for the worst, or was it like what is?
I mean, he switched careers for the better, but it wasn't a healthy relationship, and it had ran its course.
All right, so if I can just kind of like spitball this real quick, and you let me know if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So when he switched careers, was it one of those type of situations where he started smelling himself?
Yes.
Okay, it makes sense. All right. So translation, if everybody don't know what that means, he got a better job. He started smelling himself, and when she says wandering eye, she means he was out there stepping out potentially.
Yeah. I got a question for Sports Combat. Because you are an educated woman, PhD. When you are looking for a man, like, do you want a man that can teach you? And let's say your man doesn't have he's not as decorated as you, when it comes to education and paperwork. Let's say he has a high school diploma. Do you think a man can still teach you?
Absolutely. I had a boyfriend. He was, he went to trade school, worked in a factory. He cheated on me, but but when I first met him, I wasn't asking him like, hey, what do you do for a living? He was very charming. He introduced himself. We met at a football game in Miami. So, from there we were together for 2 years. Unfortunately, he cheated on me. He had a son. I loved his son. But yeah, I don't know everything. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Women, we don't know everything. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. I am an open book. I love to learn. I want my man to teach me. I want him to educate me. And I hope that there are things that I can teach him, but it's that balance, right? But that's the whole like humbling yourself as a woman. You don't know everything. And sometimes you have to be quiet, listen, and hear him out.
You all right with me?
I was talking to somebody about that, but to the humbling yourself part. I'm the type of person, right? I'm very hard-headed to an extent, and a woman anybody really trying to argue with me to get me to do something, I damn near will do the opposite to my detriment just to show you can't make me do anything, right? That I don't feel is right or what I want to do. I think the best way for a woman to affect change in a man is through full submission, because it may seem as though you're being weakened, but what you really do is kind of push the ball in the man's court where he has to put up or shut up. You know what I'm saying? And like arguing them down, trying to physically fight. Like if you like that type of man, that's like you would say dominant, like the dominant type of man, it never works. That's why I kind of like the power couple thing. It still will have to divert into a power, or not a power, but it still have to divert into a dominant submissive energy in order for it to work. And I think that's really overlooked. And the femininity of women is their master tool, their master weapon, right? And I'd like to thank you all for being on the panel and just maintaining your composure, even if you felt like you got. And we appreciate you. We understand it's not that easy to come up, and sometimes conversations can go in a lot of different ways. I just want to let you know we appreciate y'all. We really do.
Mm.